woman today on the show has such a powerful transformational story of overcoming adversity, challenges, and obstacles that were in her way, but she didn't let that stop her. And she is changing the lives of so many people. And Maria Carrion is my guest today, and it is an honor to have you on the Power Transformation Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you, Altia. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You are quite welcome, and it's such a joy to have you here today. And we're going to dive right into this interview because we have so much to cover. But I always like to start with something lighthearted and fun so that we, as the audience, can get to know you a bit more. So, my question for you is this: tell me, what is your favorite color and why?
Purple,
Oh,
because I am a survivor of domestic violence.
mm. Mm, purple. And so that is the color of domestic violence awareness.
Domestic violence awareness. But it's
Wow.
all but I can say that purple also is my favorite because it's such a beautiful color, and to me it signifies freedom.
Mm, wow.
So domestic violence, yes, but it's freedom. It's the color of freedom.
Wow. Thank you for that. And that is something that maybe certain people weren't aware of. And I know that for people who are listening to the podcast, as opposed to those who see it, if you're listening to it, then you don't see this beautiful background Maria has, which is a beautiful purple butterfly. And I have an aunt that loves butterflies, absolutely loves them. But to see that background is so empowering. And so it does make sense that purple would be your favorite color. And my aunt happens, yes, I said to like butterflies, but many, many years ago in her younger age, she too was in a domestic violence situation. This was a long time ago and has since overcome it. But let's then jump into this. If you were to describe who you are, what would you say?
I am a mother, first of all, of four beautiful children, three girls, one boy. A very proud grandmother of eight, four
Wow.
boys and four girls, and a super excited great grandmother of one.
What? Oh my God. Okay. Maria, you don't even look
Yes,
like you would have any great grandchildren. I'm telling you, y'all, she looks fabulous. And to know that you're a grandmother of eight, I am blown away by that because we didn't talk about that when I first met you. I knew you had children, but I did not know that you had the grands and now the great grands. That is beautiful. You have
thank you.
excellent genes. Yes, you look great. You look great.
Thank you. Wow. You
Yes.
blowing my head here. Wait, is it hot in here or what? Thank you. I
I'm
appreciate
serious.
that.
Yes. So before we get more into your background, just tell us as an audience, what exactly is it that you do? If you could describe what you do professionally or even in your platform in speaking to others, what would you say that you do? How would you explain that?
I am considered to be an author. I wrote my first book, Fighting All Battles into Success. There's going to be a second part of my memoir on, but I'm an author. I'm also a speaker. I've been featuring in some podcasts. Also, I have a trip to New York, domestic violence awareness. I'm one of the speakers there too in June 22nd to be exact. And I'm a life coach student, but in the interim that I'm doing that, I still feel like I'm a life coach because
Mhm.
that's what I normally do on a day-to-day life. I work in the medical field as a full-time job, but my best part of working with patients is when they tell me they have trouble losing weight or that they feel depressed and all these other extra things that I know by working in the medical field for so many years, I know that there is more to that, and it comes internal, and that's why I want to be one of the greatest transformational life coach. And I think even in my life, when I tell you the story, you will know why do I say this.
Hmm. And I believe that you will be because, being a transformational life coach, that's what I am. I call myself a transformational specialist. And I'm telling you, there are enough clients out here for all of us, but it even goes beyond that in terms of
Yeah.
your platform and your stages and what your specialty area is. And I'm telling you, your story alone can definitely help the lives of many. And so as you navigate, having a full-time career and entrepreneurship in all of these different areas, you still make yourself available to help others. And your story is miraculous in so many ways to see who you are now. And it goes back to your early upbringings in Puerto Rico. And let's kind of talk about that. When you think back to your childhood in Puerto Rico and then moving to the US at just age 10 without knowing the language, what did that time of your life teach you about belonging and being your authentic self?
When I came from Puerto Rico at the age of 10, I wouldn't be experienced to know enough to know what was coming my way.
Mhm.
I didn't know how to speak English. I was placed in the school, but at the same time, my mom removed me from the school system when I only completed the 6th grade.
Wow.
So, yes. And after that, shortly after that, I was arranged to get married with a 21-year-old a man. My mom was very sick. She actually passed away at 41. I was only 22 at the time, so
Mhm.
she probably lasted longer than what she thought she was gonna last,
Mhm.
maybe. But yeah, she took me out of school, and I got together with this man. We never got to marry because the church was closed. That took a toll on me. But I ended up leaving with this man. He had an apartment for me and everything. And we went home, celebrated, and went right back to him and moved with him.
Mhm.
Now, this man that was supposed to protect me and care for me and love me did did nothing but insult me, abuse me physically,
Mhm.
emotionally. One of my worst part of this situation was one time I was pregnant, right when I think things are going good. Okay, I'm not doing any mistakes because that was in my brain. I was so young and naive that I thought I was doing something wrong. Here again, I did something wrong. So we go visit his mom, and she looks at my bulge, and she's like, you're going to have a girl.
Mm.
And he said, no, that's not a girl, that's a boy. And that's in my book actually. And probably not exactly in those words, but he looked at me when I said, yeah, I think it's a girl. He gave
Mhm.
me such a cold look that it sent chills in my back. And
Mm.
right there, I knew something was going to happen when I go back to his place.
Mhm.
When I went back, the first thing he did when we went into the bedroom was slap me so hard that I dropped on the floor. And I stayed there telling him, please don't hit me, don't hit me. Please don't hit me. And he said, I dare you disrespect me in front of my mother. Um, I didn't think I disrespected him. To him was a disrespect. And he kept hitting me on the floor while I was just laying down. And when he hit my stomach, he tried not to do that, but somehow he got to hit my stomach. And I embraced my stomach on the floor,
Mhm.
and my urine just right between my legs, the puddle of urine right there on the floor. So he looked at me and said, you filthy pig, and
Wow.
walked away out of the room. And I just lay there, and I felt so It sounds crazy what I'm saying, but
Mhm.
I felt so cozy there holding my stomach. And I remember saying, I will always protect you. Like I knew it was a girl. I will always protect you.
Wow. Wow.
And that was one of the things that I went through that was very hard and kind of
Mhm.
made me realize a little bit more and more something is not right.
Mhm. And thank you for really explaining that because so much happened to you in those young formative years. And how did even that experience of not just being pregnant, but now experiencing abuse, how did that shape your sense of identity, safety, or even self-worth? And what were you longing for most in those years?
I wanted him to care for me and love me.
Mm,
And I just wanted to not make mistakes at that point in my life. I felt lonely and betrayed because he promised my mom he would take care of me and let me go back to school. I couldn't go back to school, so I didn't know any English to top it off.
mhm,
He he didn't let me use any birth control, and the times that he did caught me, I got a beating for that. So
mhm.
I have four beautiful children of this one covert abuser because he was a
Yeah.
covert abuser. And for those who don't know what a covert abuser, they very hidden and they show only their colors that are not true.
Ah.
Uh, uh, a false projection in front of people, but inside the home, it was totally different.
So people didn't know you were experiencing this.
No,
Oh
they
my,
thought I was happy.
wow.
He hugged me, he grabbed me, he cared for me around people, except for his mother. He will here and there, but she will scold him, and one time she even slapped him.
Wow.
Um, so he had to stop that in front of her, of course.
Wow. And so, as a young mother of four, navigating a relationship that was just marked by violence and abandonment because you wanted all of this self love, there had to have been moments when you were low and you never thought that you would get out of it. What kept you going in those quiet, dark hours when no one was there to support you and when your life felt really, really heavy? What kept you going?
My child,
Hmm.
my child, and those children after
Hmm.
is the only thing in this life that kept me from going. Even though sometimes in my life I thought of even killing myself,
Mm.
but I thought about my kids. I knew my kids needed me, and I wanted to be the best for them, and I did.
Wow, certainly. And so then that then causes the question, Maria, is what was that turning point? When is it when you said, this is not how my story ends? This is not how my life is going to be? What awakened in you during that turning point? And how did you leave that type of a situation?
After 9 years of suffering and cheating, putting me down, nobody loves me. That's why they gave me away and all of that. When he went to jail for doing the wrong things in his life, when he went to jail, I said, freedom! Having my kids since they were going to school, every time I would go to the library, I'll read and read. And every time I get a chance, I'll read. And if you will see me reading, he'll just laugh. Like, you don't even know how you're really going to take a GED. Like, really, you
Mm,
know? And just mock at me. And I will stay quiet. I was getting smarter and smarter. I would stay quiet like I don't know nothing, and I was the dumb little innocent girl, but I was already waking up. I was educating myself without him knowing. So when he
mhm.
went to jail, and I passed that GED and went back to school, got my associates, Then later on, my bachelor's in concentration in psychology. I started working in the beginning when I first graduated with my associate. I started um, working for the check because I was on the welfare system. And
Uh-huh.
all I wanted was to give them a better life and not live. I didn't want that. I didn't want that. So I was crying. I remember to this day I was crying and telling my mom who raised me, let her rest in peace, which is my aunt. And she said, you know what? Because I was like, what did I go to school for? I don't want and I'm crying hysterical. And she said, listen, cut it out. You're gonna go and you're gonna work for your check, and you're gonna see that you're gonna get that job. And that's how it was. I
Mm-hmm.
went from not only to be a clerical A, then I wrote a letter with what I learned in school because I thought I deserved more. And I was bold enough that after they gave me the promotion, I wrote a letter and they skipped me to clerical 3. From clerical 3, I went to a bookkeeper. From a bookkeeper, I went to a supervisor. And from a supervisor, I left out of there almost 14 years or about 14 years being the deputy director of the housing subsidy unit, responsible for the preventive and the foster care payroll of $6.9 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. That is an
Yeah.
incredible story. And the fact that you came to the US not speaking English, not even knowing the language. And just for clarity, most of my listeners and my subscribers know this, but just for education's sake, for people who don't know, you don't have to question whether or not she was a citizen. Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, so she is a citizen. So, just for
I was
clarity, y'all,
born. I was actually born in New York, though.
Hmm.
I was born in Brooklyn, New York, but my mom took me to Puerto Rico when I was in
Oh,
diapers with my grandmother
okay,
and my aunt. Yeah, that's what
okay.
happened.
Okay, yes, because when I met you, you had told me when you came back. But just for clarity, for anyone who doesn't know, she didn't have to, even if you were born over there, it doesn't matter because it's still
Okay.
U.S. territory. And I'm shocked at the amount of people who don't realize that sometimes. But anyway, my whole point though is, especially for those of us who speak more than one language, it is not always easy learning another language and navigating a world where you may know some of the basics, but not everything. And to see how you experience all of that trauma, but yet you still rose beyond what people could have probably ever imagined. And I'm glad that you had that support system to really help you. And today, as you mentioned, you are a published author, you're a speaker, you have other entrepreneurial ventures that you shared with me one on one, and you help others learn how to reclaim their authority and their power. So, what did you have to do inside of Maria? What did you have to do? The internal work, just not the external hustle of everything, but what did you have to do to really believe in your soul that you were worthy of the life that you have?
I used to read books back in the day. I don't know if you ever heard of Marco Aurelius, Stoic, and all of that.
Yes, I have. Uh-huh.
Well, we're so fortunate to have that in YouTube now, right?
Mhm.
And all these books from back in the days that they have in the library, well, they used to, I don't know if they have them in the library now, but they have videos, tons of videos out there
Mhm.
about mindset, changing habits, eating healthy, exercising. It's it's the whole bit, spending time with family, spending time with friends. Um, all of these things change you from in out because the external cannot be changed without doing something about the internal, in my
Mm.
opinion. So I based my transformation in self education.
Mm.
in
Mm,
self-education. I mean, there's certain things that, okay, now it's time to go to get that GED, and the college degree, of course.
hmm.
But mostly everything can be self-taught. And I learned that. And I know that.
That's right. And to know too that your children were watching your journey and watching your transformation, and they are your why, they are your reason. And so how how do you instill those values of believing in yourself, of achieving your dreams and your goals? How do you instill that even within your children and your grandchildren?
I don't do anything. They just have to observe. Children
Uh-huh.
watch you. And children and teenagers might say, you work too much, you don't spend no time with me, this, that. Well, now my oldest is 45. Um, she got her associate's degree. She's always selling food. She likes food. I tell her, you need to buy a restaurant. I hope you buy the
Mm,
truck at least. Start little.
mhm, mhm.
My other daughter, she's a teacher, and I think she's gonna go for study psychology. She told me now. My youngest daughter is studying psychology as well. She has an autistic child, 12 years old. My son is disabled.
Mm.
Unfortunately, he is not doing anything at the moment except doing some. I think he does some like something in the internet that they do that they make money. I don't know exactly how
Okay.
that goes.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I don't know. But he has a wonderful wife that works, and and they work together and help each other like that too. So I
Mhm.
embrace that. He had a traumatic surgery,
Mm.
and his one of his leg is like super thin, almost to
Okay.
the point that it might he might lose it in the future. But
Oh,
other than
sorry to
that,
hear
he's
that.
healthy, and he has such a positive attitude that he's like, well, if they cut the leg, then I guess I'll put one of those prostheses to that those will look cute,
Yeah.
cool. And I'm like, okay. So
But it goes to show that even in something that a person might see as a challenge, your son, as well as all of your other children, have learned how to make the best out of their situations. And yes, through observing you, that's a direct correlation. And so, what amazes me about your story, though, is there are people who have experienced something similar as you and choose, and it's no judgment, it's fine, everybody's different, but some don't, a lot don't write books about it, they don't speak on it. Take us to that moment when you decided, I've got to do more with this. I want to be able to help other women in my situation, to really help them change their lives. Take us down that road of when you started this journey of sharing your story and helping people in a similar situation. What sparked it in you to want to do that?
I always wanted to write a book. I always used to be writing stuff down, silly things. Even if I'm sitting here, I will just write about the leaves and anything. Um, and one day I was like, I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna write a book about my story, and I started searching places where they can help me do it.
Mhm.
And for a long time, probably for a year, until finally I found someone, Janine Hernandez, Book Publishing Academy, and got into it. And like she said, I flew with it.
Yeah.
So, and then other stuff comes out, other passions. Like, okay, now I have this passion that I wrote this book to help others see that they're not alone, that they could come out of any situation they're in, but perhaps they need someone to tell them. I didn't have anybody to tell me, but by reading a lot and then going to school, and my electives were in psychology,
Hmm.
and that's how I ended up switching my career to psychology.
Yeah.
Um, that that I'm losing my train of thought, but my words that I
Yeah.
want to say.
It's
Uh,
fine.
so
Yeah.
one passion after the other. So I wrote the book, and then I'm like, I feel like I need to do more. So I started speaking about domestic violence awareness, and people are not alone. And I did a free session in a property that it was just for domestic violence,
Hmm.
women of domestic violence, and I donated
Oh,
my books and everything. That was
okay.
that was a really great experience. Too bad I didn't have nobody to record, or I didn't think about it,
Hmm.
because it went very well, very well. So now I do that. Now I'm trying to go out there and share, spread the word of domestic violence awareness, so more people can get involved. The more, the better.
And let me just go back briefly and we'll talk more about the domestic violence awareness platform. But Maria, honestly, in thinking about just how you described that first encounter with the abuse, that had to have rocked your total world, let alone you living through more of it. So when you decided to write your book, explain to us what that process was like emotionally for you in putting your life on paper.
I felt like I was doing my own therapy,
Ah,
because I cried.
mm-hmm.
And even if I start reading my own book, which is weird, I don't know if that's normal. Even if I start reading, like if I'm reading somebody else's story, this is my story.
Yeah.
This is your story. So I lived it, and then I had to edit the book 4 times. I lived it a whole bunch of times, and I don't know if it will ever go away, those feelings, but I feel no regrets about them. I
Mm-hmm.
think that because of my tragedy, my trauma, it's the person that I am today. It's
Mm-hmm.
because I am the person that can help you with passion, the person that can tell you you're not alone, the person that if I have to hold your hand and tell you this is the way, we're going to go that way.
Yeah.
Tell me what you want to do. I want to be that person for people out there. I don't want to just say a speech and go on my way. And if somebody talks and say something, for me not to be like, can I reach out to you? Or if you want, reach out to me. This is my information. And for
Mm-hmm.
them to actually follow up and not just keep it inside and that's it, it's locked. You let it go right there and then that's it.
And for you to say that this process, in a sense, was like your own therapy, I'm sure there's someone listening or watching who says, wow, wow, she took her pain and really transformed it into purpose. How did you learn to forgive your abuser? What was that process like? And sometimes people think forgiveness means that you don't forget about what happened or you forgive them and you welcome them back into life. That's not how forgiveness always looks. And sometimes a person can forgive someone who may have already passed away and aren't here. What made you decide to forgive your ex? And how did you get to that point of really being healed from that past pain?
To begin with, never anything to forgive them for.
Mm,
I never held a grudge because once again, I educated myself. And I know he holds a victim inside of him.
mm-hmm.
I know that for a fact. You don't get born like that. You don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I never had anything to forgive him for. On the contrary, I found out he had a stroke, and I pray for this man.
Mm,
And I'm going to pray for this man to the day I die.
yeah.
And I hope he listens to this because he's been telling everybody he's lying, that I'm lying.
Wow.
But there's a lot of people, and even from his family, that know and communicate with me and love me like a sister
Mm.
because
That's
they witnessed.
powerful. Ooh, that's another level. That's another level right there because
Yeah.
sometimes people think that type of a process of healing and letting go, but for you to say there was nothing to forgive, just to have that amount of compassion and the compassion you show towards so many other women who have experienced a similar situation is powerful. And so maybe there's someone listening or watching this who may be sitting in silence, fear, or emotional survival, and perhaps have gotten out of a domestic violence situation, or they still could be in it. But what would you say to that woman who is still in her storm, still in that challenge, and still questioning if she will ever be free, safe, or whole? What would you say to her?
I will say to that person, you are free. You
Mm,
just don't know it. You are free. You just don't know it.
mm,
Educate yourself. Educate yourself and know the difference between a healthy relationship and an unhealthy relationship. And that alone will open up your eyes to educate yourself more and know if the person you are with
mhm,
is an abuser or not.
mhm,
Because not because a person tells you a bad word, he's a covert abuser, he's abusing you. There's more to it. But by these people educating themselves, they will know. But if they need anything, any if they have any questions, they can always reach out to me, and I will be more than happy to assist them and answer all their questions.
So let's take a shift here in thinking about all of these women that you've come across, some who have come to you for um, advice or counsel or support. Thinking of the many women that you have encountered and worked with, without, of course, giving names, tell us one story of a woman that you saw a total change and transformation in once they connected with you and you helped to get them to be even more empowered. Tell us a transformation story of someone that you've met.
I met someone in New York at one time that was being abused just like me. And when I told this woman what I was going through, she opened up her eyes. She was way older than me. She did open up her eyes and she moved on and she went about doing her own business. I don't know exactly, but she got out of that relationship.
Wow.
Whatever I told her, and I just spit everything out, like everything out. And I don't know if I did the right thing at the moment or not, but in my heart I felt like I did the right thing. They did separate it, but they didn't know that I had to do something with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was scared too because um the father of my kids and her husband were like this. That says it
Oh.
all. That says it all. But I was happy to know that she was good. Her name is
Mhm.
Evelyn.
Wow. Wow.
And I hope she's not mad at me if she sees this. There's a lot
Mm.
of Evelyns out there,
There's a
right?
lot of girl. Look, I was saying to myself, I personally know probably about five. So it is okay. You didn't disclose her last name.
All
That's
right.
fine. It is totally okay because
Okay. All right.
nobody will know who that is. Only she
Yeah.
knows. But I think, but one of the things that I will say, and if that particular person is listening, I think it's courageous that you mentioned she was older. And I say that because sometimes people get to a point in life where they think they're stuck in a situation or this has to be this way. I always tell people until you leave this earth, you can always reinvent your life. And I had a great aunt who has since passed away now. But back in the 1990s, she had been with her husband over 50 years. And it was an abusive marriage for all of those years. Do you know that my aunt, after 50 something years of marriage, decided to leave? She packed her stuff, got her own place. So this woman in her 70s chose to leave, got her own apartment, her own place, and she lived about another 10, 12 years or so after that, maybe between 10 and 15 years after that. and loved every bit of it. And she had been so familiar, and it proves that, when a woman gets that internal strength to say, hey, this is enough, that's what I'm going to do. And for any men listening or watching, this is not male bashing. We love our men, but this particular aspect of where Maria's gifting in is with women who have experienced this form of abuse. And so also, she's not closed off to um knowing that there are men out there who support women in these situations. But our focus today is really speaking to women who have experienced this. And as we start to come to a close, I want to give you time, though. You have published a book. I want you to share with us how we can support that book. How can listeners or watchers buy that book? Or if someone wants to book you to speak, how can people connect with you?
Absolutely, yes. I have a website. It's www.mariacarrion.com. And my book's name is a memoir, and the title is Fighting All Battles into Success. They can find it through my website. I have information there about domestic violence as well. So feel free to check it out. And also, you could email me at carrionmaria619 at gmail.com.
Thank
And those
you.
are, yes. They want to follow me. They can also follow me on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. I'm planning to go into LinkedIn for speaking events in the
Hmm.
future.
Thank you. And I will put all of those also in the show notes as well. Um,
Thank you.
yes, of course. And as we wrap this up, Maria, your story is bigger than the pain of the past, but rather it's a light for others. So, my question to you is, what is your vision now, not just for your business or your brand, but what is your vision for the healing and the hope that you want to pass on to the next generation of women who may be in situations of domestic violence?
My vision is that all women and men who are abused to be free of abuse, that we stop the abuse completely. That is my vision.
Mm.
So my vision is free from abuse, free from domestic violence. That's all I see.
And in thinking about who you were when you came back to the um, mainland US at 10 years old, not being able to speak English, and then having the life that you did with so many changes at an early age, what would you say in being the woman you are now? What are you most proud of about yourself along your journey?
That they didn't change me.
Mm,
I wasn't changed. I'm
mm,
still the same person. Still to now. Like, I remember myself being a 10-year-old girl, being happy and full of life. I'm still happy and full of life.
oh, that's beautiful. And you certainly are. And you exemplify resilience, transformation, joy, hope, and so much more. And it has certainly been an honor having you as my guest today on the Power Transformation podcast. I know that this interview is going to inspire so many, and just not inspire them, but also give them the courage to make the changes that they need to do in their life so they can have a better present and future. So thank you again for being a guest on the Power Transformation Podcast. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Power Transformation Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow or subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. It helps us inspire even more listeners. And don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who could use a little power in their transformation. Until next time, keep bouncing back, keep rising, and be good to yourself and to others.